Norris writes, what happened to Brandon Routh? After that cameo in Zack and Miri and Scott Pilgrim, he just sort of disappeared.
I gotta tell you right now, I am a big fan of Brandon Routh. I like everybody else, I was first introduced to him in Superman Returns. And think what you will about Superman Returns. I thought Brandon Routh was an excellent Kal-El. I thought he was an excellent Superman. I really, really did. I loved his performance in that. And I really became a fan of his. And then he had a really hilarious small part in Zack and Miri Make a Porno. I thought he was great in that. Then he popped up. He did that a couple little films like Dylan Dog, which wasn't a good movie at all. But then he popped up in, not Zack, I was going to say, but it stars Zachary Levi. What's the one? He's the computer store geek who then becomes a super spy.
Chuck?
Chuck, thank you. He had a recurring role as like one of the main characters for a while on Chuck, and he was fantastic on Chuck. Like he was a hero, and then he became a villain in it, and he became a returning villain, all that kind of stuff. And now he's a regular on both Arrow on TV, and he's about to become a semi-regular on The Flash as well. And if the rumors are correct, he's about to get his own spin-off show too. Well, not his own, but him with several other characters from the Flash and Arrow universes are getting a team show spun off. So Brandon's doing pretty well. He's doing pretty good. I got to tell this story. I haven't told this one in a while. But back in the day when I was doing the movie blog, and I was doing the movie blog audio edition, the podcast that we did, we used to review movies, and we had a 3-tier scoring system for movies. And that scoring system was either no, go, or Routh. That was our when we would score a movie was either no, go, or Routh. And where that came from was no, don't go see this movie. Go, yeah, go see this movie. And Routh, here's where this came from. There was a story that actually ended up being completely true. That in the production of not Man of Steel, but Superman Returns, during some of the dailies, some of the studio guys were uncomfortable with how pronounced Brandon Routh's package was in the Superman tights. And they actually made the suggestion of digitally reducing it. And they went ahead and did that. So we joked about that on our show one day, and we said, well, I guess you could say that Brandon Routh is the total package. And we turned that into a movie score. So no, don't go see it. Yes, go see it. Routh means that movie is the total package. So that was our movie scoring. So that's my little Brandon Routh story. Anyway, what do you guys think of Brandon Routh?
I like Brandon Routh, and I think that the problem was with Superman Returns is that movie just suffered from, let's do another Donner movie.
Yes. And
they tried so hard to do a Donner movie, and they even so much for, like, he sounds so much like Christopher Reeve. He looks like Christopher Reeve. Let's just make him do a Christopher Reeve impression the whole time. And he sounded like him for sure, everything that he was doing. But that movie, as much as I like what Bryan Singer has done for the X-Men franchise, he was the wrong guy for the job. Even from that codpiece, that was Bryan Singer doing. He changed the suit, he did all this stuff, and that just it didn't work. I don't blame Brandon Routh for that. I think he was fine. I thought he was great in Scott Pilgrim, and I'd like to see him do more. He just was.
Scott Pilgrim. Thank you.
He was hurt. He was hurt from doing that movie because they're like, oh, that one, that's not that good. That's the guy that was in that movie, and it's not because he was bad. It's just because that movie's not that good.
Well, yeah, I mean, the Superman Returns was made with all the best intentions, but upon seeing it, you realize you're like, I've already seen this movie. It was called Superman the movie, and then Superman 2. I don't want to see any more of that Donner universe. I love those two films. The 3 and 4 we don't even need to talk about. So it was sort of like one of those things where they were like, hey, we're going to do an unofficial sequel to 2. It's sort of like where you start to get into that Alien 3 territory with Blomkamp, or how do you say it? Blomkamp. So yeah, I mean, and then we've all made jokes about Superman Returns, him lifting stuff, and it's really boring, and he's like hanging around, creeping around his kid and stuff. So he's got some really weird elements that didn't really work with Superman. Plus, he doesn't fight anybody. It's sort of like, what's up, So, it was a misfire, but it wasn't made that way. Like, hey, let's ruin Superman. It was kind of like J.J. Abrams had a great spin on it, and I really wish that happened. That would have been incredible, but they made that film, and it just didn't work out the way everyone wanted it to. And then we got Man of Steel, which was amazing, I think. So, what was the question? Brandon Routh. He's the Atom now, guys. He's back to being a superhero. He's going to have his own series. So I think he's a great actor.
He made. I think if I remember it right, it's been a while since this episode was on, and I don't watch Arrow anymore. But I think he made a joke when he was designing his Atom suit. They made him do this little joke where it's like, I'll be a virtual Man of Steel as he was putting his thing together, which I thought was kind of fun. I'm actually very, very rare. I I really liked Superman Returns. I really did. But here's the thing. I thought Superman Returns was a really good movie, but a really horrible comic book movie. That's what I felt as a character study. It was really rather interesting. I like the way they just went into the humanity struggles of Kal-El, right? And I thought it did that really, really well. But then it came across as creepy in some ways and stuff like that. So I thought it was a really good movie, but a very, very poor comic book movie.
That's how I felt about Iron Man 3. Thought it was a great Shane Black movie on its own, but just not a good Marvel movie.
I would have called Superman Returns Floaty Man Returns.
Floating Man
It was
Returns.
floating a lot.
Floaty Man.